Hi, today I'm going to throw some small spherical vases, like this one. As usual, when I'm making small things, I throw them off the hump. So first thing is to make my doorknob, about the size of a tennis ball. Go in with my thumb to about right angles, and then I'm going to go in with my middle finger of my left hand and down 1 knuckles worth. And all that is me using my body as a kind of measuring tool. Bring it up into a curved shape. It's really quite thick walls at this point. You can see it's a kind of lovely Zen spiral in there at the moment. Now I'm going to wet the inside and the outside. I try and use as little water as possible with porcelain. Otherwise it gets too floppy too quickly. Moving up, squeezing the clay between my thumb and middle fingers. Very little pressure towards the end so that the walls stay thick at the top. I want it to have a good thick rim. That adds hugely to the stability of the shape. Because we're going to get some very tricky times soon when this wall, the wall of the clay, when the wall of the pot is really quite narrow, really quite thin. Don't have a lot of slip on my fingers, so I'm trying to keep the walls wet but not soaking, so just the very surface should be damp. I don't want that water to seep into the clay. Very little pressure at the bottom so it stays quite thick, all of which is about stability. So if the bottom's thick and the top's thick, there's a good chance this column, this tube, this cylinder will keep its integrity. It has a tendency to flare out, so I'm just bringing it back in again. Every time I go down, I do widen it because my hand is quite wide. Let's do one more pull. So this wall is really quite thin now, and the clay is starting to wobble a little bit. It's just what I'm looking for. Again, just bring it in. And now I can start to shape the vase. And all the way to the bottom. Slow the wheel down a little bit. The faster the wheel's going, the more force is applied to this very thin wall. If it's too slow, then you can easily not get a circular form. It becomes lopsided. If it's too fast, you can tear the whole form and distort it, because the slightest touch with this metal rib will apply a lot of force. So I'm just keeping an eye on the profile, trying to make it quite round. And I'm trying not to leave the top rim. I'm not really touching that yet, because I want to be able to bring it in and make a nice opening to the vase. It's a bit too wide at the moment, but it has to be to get my hand in. Paying attention to the inside curve of the vase as well. I want it to be quite smooth curve inside. All the way around the bottom. Right, that's wide enough now and round enough. So there is a tiny bit of slip in the bottom. We've gone back to that lovely spiral shape, but I'm going to get rid of it by putting a sponge in the bottom. There's no water really, it's quite dry down there, but I want to get rid of that slip. Wet the outside and the inside of this top, and then squeeze it in gently. reducing the width at the top. And as I do that, the clay gets thicker because it's the same clay in a smaller volume. So I need to narrow the clay at the top now. Just make sure I've got enough water. Again, just gently squeeze the top. Slow the wheel right down. There's a lot of torque being applied to the bottom of the vase at this point, so I have to be very careful to be ever so gentle. That'll do. Just flatten the top a bit because I'm going to push it in, and that will angle that rim downwards, just like that. Reshape it again, get rid of that little bit of slip at the top. Now this will be trimmed quite carefully when it's leather hard, so I don't make the rim the shape I want it to be at this stage. It's just too delicate to get right. It's much easier to do, more easier to do precisely when it's leather hard, and I can trim it with a sharp tool. I'll just get it to the basic form I want at this point. Take off the excess slip. There we go. Clean up the bottom. Now I have to judge where the bottom of this pot is. So many times I've sliced through the bottom by not judging this depth enough. Make a small mark and then take my throwing knife, slow the wheel right down and push that in. The reason I'm doing that is that there's then therefore a lot less surface area where the pot's touching the hump, and that means it's going to be much easier to do this. Pull it off, put it down, and because of all that clay at the bottom, it should maintain its nice round form. I hope you enjoyed that. Thanks very much for watching. Please subscribe to this channel if you did like it and click the like button. If you've got any questions about throwing off the hump, then leave a comment below, and till next time.